So let's talk about Tarkov Arena. I was one of the lucky few that got access to the game on the first day of the closed beta testing, and I'm currently closing in on nearly 100 games played so far. It's no secret that people were upset with the wave system that Battlestate Games decided to use to launch the closed beta, and I suppose most people didn't initially complain because they suspected that they would be one of the lucky chosen players to get access right away. This obviously was not the case. I have the ability to see whenever new wipes are happening because I'm streaming to a wider audience, and the chat always erupts with, I got my email, I got access, and I can safely say that the rate in which people are being invited is increasing. But it's also important to note that although the beta does appear to be somewhat related to whenever you pre-ordered EOD, it's not entirely the case. There's certainly some random chance at play. And if you're waiting for access, make sure you go to arena.tarkov.com and register. If you never registered, you'll never get access to play. So you're probably wondering, Deadly, tell me how Arena plays. Well, it's basically exactly how you'd expect Escape for Tarkov to work, but with faster respawns. After playing the game for a couple of days, I can tell there are some minor differences than Escape for Tarkov when it comes to the actual gunplay. First, the recoil on the weapons doesn't seem to be as extreme as it is in Escape from Tarkov. And no, this isn't the new recoil system, this is the old system, just toned down a little bit. There doesn't seem to be as much recoil on things like stock M4s and G36s, which are fairly difficult to control in regular Escape from Tarkov. You'll probably notice whenever you play the game yourself that light and heavy bleeds also don't seem to kill the player nearly as fast. But painkiller times, like using Vaseline or applying regular painkillers, those times seem to be exactly the same as what you'd expect in Escape from Tarkov, and actually healing your limbs with multi-purpose meds or AI2s seems just as slow as the regular game. So don't expect any quick heals unless you have stimulants. Speaking of stimulants, they are greatly increased when it comes to their usage. Whenever you select a loadout, you can actually hover over the item to see exactly what positive effects you will receive when you apply the stim and for how long. This is the tooltip that a lot of people have been wanting for regular Escape from Tarkov. So the same could also be said for the ammunition. In Tarkov, you really don't have any idea, you gotta go to some spreadsheet, but in Arena, you just put your mouse over the ammo and it tells you exactly how much damage and exactly how much penetration the round will do. This needs to get added to Tarkov to some degree, either in the notebook as the tooltip or something in the hideout that can tell you. In terms of the loadouts, most of the early game kits use armor between level 2 and 4 depending on the loadout tree that you start to use, and the types of ammunitions feel fairly usable regardless of what you use at the very start, but that's going to be changing in the days to come. You cannot customize your loadout in Arena, but you can unlock new ones. The system is pretty basic. You use the kit and you earn experience for the next one in the tree. Earn enough experience and you unlock the next kit. The system is really basic, but it really needs some improvements because it creates a couple of problems. And you know what's also a problem? Not having delicious, nutritious meals at your fingertips. And today's sponsor can help you out with that with HelloFresh. HelloFresh is a meal delivery service that sends you fresh ingredients directly to your door so you can make professional level meals at home in your kitchen and you can eat great. I have been personally using HelloFresh now for over 2 years unsponsored, and it's a staple in our household. Every single week we have 45 different meals that we can choose. We get 3 to 4 sent to our door. Whenever I'm done on my stream, I just start making the HelloFresh. It's done within 15 to 30 minutes, and we have a restaurant quality meal ready to rock. Just that easy. And the New Year's is just around the corner, and you know what that means, maybe eating a little bit healthier, and HelloFresh has you covered with all sorts of great options there as well. If it's low carb, ketogenic diets, vegetarian, go take a peek at their website. They likely have something for you. So if you're interested, check out the link listed in the description box below or use code POGDEADLYFREE to get 1 free breakfast item for every single box that you order for the remainder of your subscription. Thanks again to HelloFresh, and with that said, let's get back to this Arena discussion. So like I was saying before, the system for unlocking loadouts, you use your loadout, you unlock the next one in the tree. It's very basic, but it creates some pretty big problems with the game right now. First, you can only unlock the next loadout in the tree by using the loadout that is directly before it. That means if you're not a big fan of that loadout and you want something further down the tree, you are forced to use the loadout that you would deem bad for a while before you get the better one. It really hurts weapon diversity as well too, because you can't use any of the kits in the tree to unlock the next tier unless it's directly next to the new one. So you're forced to use the exact same loadout for hours on end. This isn't a problem if you actually like the loadout, but if you don't, then it's going to be super frustrating. So the natural response to this is, well, just use a different loadout. Well, just wait. The second issue with the loadout system is ARP. This is called Arena Reputation Points, and the more games that you win, the higher rating that you receive, which means the higher skilled players you will face, which also means the better loadouts they will be using. Let's say that you're playing Arena for a few hours and your ARP is getting quite high, and you wanted to try a different set of loadouts in the tree. Well, now you have to drop your Class 5 body armor with a rifle with good armor piercing rounds for a brand new kit that has level 2 armor and bad hollow point rounds. So it's going to be hurting your team's success at winning, thus tanking your ARP. And climbing that ladder, especially in solo, can be quite difficult to do, so using the best gear that you have available is highly recommended, but that could be the exact same loadout for hours on end, and it might get boring. Now, each loadout does have a gear score associated with it, but it's unclear how, if even, this affects the matchmaking. From what I can see, matchmaking is purely based on ARP at this point. I've had players with tier 1 kits and tier 3 to 4 kits in the exact same lobby. You choose your loadout after the matchmaking has already been completed. That means that gear score doesn't matter until after the game starts. The only way that gear score would actually have an impact is if it takes the average gear score of your previous matches and attempts to match you against players with similar kits. But from what I can see, this isn't happening. And it's not rocket appliances on why you would think this could potentially be a problem. Good players just decide to use dog shit kits for a little while, and they can tank their ARP to go up against worse players with their Alton helmets and amazing gear. This, in my opinion, is the biggest problem with Escape from Tarkov Arena at this point. Players are forced to use one kit for hours on end, and if they don't, they'll likely hurt their team's chance of success. The good news is, this is a closed beta after all, and there's lots of time for Battlestate Games to make changes to the system. I think there's already enough feedback to inspire some changes to how do you actually obtain some new loadouts, and there's plenty of ways where they can make these changes. They could let players choose exactly where their experience goes and what loadout they want to unlock, picking one new kit at a time. They could take the gear score into effect with the matchmaking, although we already talked about why that could be a problem. And they can also change how experience contributes to the loadouts in the tree, saying you can use earlier kits in the tree to contribute to ones that are further down the list. And I suspect you guys in the comments will have plenty of good ideas as well. The point being is there's lots of good suggestions, maybe not perfect, but good ones that can actually change the current system, and I suspect Battlestate will do something soon. And of course, there's going to be meta kits in Tarkov Arena, and it's very similar to what we get in Escape from Tarkov. SMGs with good ammunition and low recoil are among the top used loadouts. But the good news is, depending what tree that you choose, there's like lots of good kits regardless of what you're working on. But the bad news is it might take you a while and some serious headaches to unlock them. Now let's move on. The maps. The maps themselves are probably the strongest part of Arena. Now that's highly subjective and some people will disagree with me here, but I feel like they're all pretty thought out, well-made competitive maps with a good amount of variety and strategy to each of them. That being said, the way matchmaking works is pretty bad. If you select every single map available, it will likely put you into Air Pit or Bay 5 first, because it seems like there's a preference for alphabetical order. That or Battlestate Games just loves Air Pit and will constantly try to put you there unless you deselect it, or they just dislike Sawmill the most. The maps themselves are a mixture between perfect symmetry and asymmetric maps, so a lot of them are pretty symmetrical. You have Air Pit and you have Equator. Those are basically just the same on either side. And then you have maps like Sawmill, which are definitely asymmetric depending on what side you play. You have a variation of strategy on how you want to go about doing it. And then you have maps like the Bowl, which is a relatively symmetrical map with opposing sniper towers with slightly different paths on how you can go about attacking depending on what side that you spawn in. All in all, I feel like they did a fairly decent job with the first set of maps added to Arena, but I'm always eager to hear what you guys have to say about that in the comment section below. In terms of the game modes that are available right now in Arena, you have two. Shootout, which is a 2v2 or 3v3 game mode, and Teamfight, which is the most popular of the two. Teamfight is 5v5 and it works very similar to Call of Duty Gunfight. The primary objective is to eliminate the enemy. If you eliminate all enemy players, then you win the round. If the teams fail to eliminate the enemy players, then there will be an objective that spawns on the map that only has a few seconds capture time to end the round, really encouraging people to stop camping and going to the objective to cap it. If players fail to leave their camping locations because they're either watching the objective or they're lazy, then raiders and scavs and bosses will come into the match to try to eliminate and clean up the teams, and whoever survives the longest wins. There's also radiation that will affect the players if the raiders don't get the job done, but I've personally never seen that happen because more often than not, the raiders get it done. It's a very interesting take on an already well-established competitive game mode that has worked with other titles. So it's got a Escape from Tarkov flavor on top of that, like watching the tournament and seeing Tagilla come out of nowhere and eliminate an enemy in the final round was absolutely insane. So more of that would be cool to see in Arena. It's early days and there's more game modes that are coming, but it's a good start. So I'm going to just get to my closing opinions and thoughts and give it a wedge score out of 8. So like I was saying earlier in this video, my biggest complaint is how the loadout system works. I think plenty of people are going to get frustrated with the inability to unlock the kits that they want because they're forced to use something they don't want to use. And if they work down a tree and they have some level of regret, the only way to actually get something new is using a very bad kit, and that's going to be tanking their ARP, which they may have really earned and they wanted to grind that out. So it's a system that kind of forces you into using the exact same loadout and making a really important decision at the very beginning of your journey in Arena. And if you fail to do that, you're going to be dying a lot, you're going to be losing your money, you're going to be hurting your teammates if you're solo queue or if you're playing with a squad, and it's just not really a good system. The gunplay, the gameplay, the game modes, and the maps are certainly the best part of the Arena experience, and it gives me hope for the future of the title. Also, when Arena gets properly integrated with your Escape from Tarkov account, actually being able to earn money playing in some of these game modes that are yet to come out, unranked with some PvE game modes, it's just going to add more things to do in an already exciting game world, right? So you'll be able to pop onto Escape from Tarkov and play that for a little bit, jump on with some buddies and do some PvE stuff in unranked, maybe participate in an actual leaderboard PvP system to become the best in the world. You know what I mean? So it's going to be an overall net positive for Escape from Tarkov. There's just a long way to go right now when it comes to this game. So would I recommend it if you didn't actually purchase Edge of Darkness? I think it's worth a wait, especially with a brand new Escape from Tarkov wipe that is coming in a couple of days, but it's certainly something to keep your eye on. I would consider coming into the game whenever they have the unranked game modes and they change how some of the loadout progression works. Because I know as a streamer, I've been putting hours and hours and hours into this game, and I only have a couple of loadouts that I think are actually usable, and I'm having some regret because I want to go switch to a different tree, and I know that's going to tank all the progress that I made with my ARP, and I'm going to be losing a lot of money and letting people down, right? And that's just not cool. I know that's not really, I don't know if Battlestate Games cares, but that's just not really fun in my opinion. So I hope they figure it out. The balancing needs to change drastically, but I do think it's a very good start with much potential, like mad potential, especially like I said earlier, with that EFT Arena cross integration. It's going to be great. So I'm going to be currently giving it like a 5.5 out of 8, and a lot of that is just because of the loadout system. If they fix the loadout system and make it more fun and engaging, then I'm probably going to give it like a 6.5 or a 7. It's that draining from the overall experience that's why my score is so low. So let me know what you guys think about Tarkov Arena in the comment section below. I'm always eager to hear what you guys have to say, or pop in during my live streams, which are Monday through Friday starting at 7 a.m. But just so you know, I will be taking a couple of days off for the holidays during Christmas, and the Tarkov wipe is very close. So I can't wait to get my hands back on an Escape for Tarkov wipe. Last wipe, I was so busy with so much new family stuff, becoming a new dad, that I really took a back seat. So I'm excited to jump back into Tarkov and see what this brand new wipe has to offer with the recoil changes, the armor plates, vaulting, shoreline expansion, Streets of Tarkov expansion, all of it. All right, I'm excited. It's going to be a great time. So please subscribe here on YouTube as well, and I'll see you guys in the next one.